Once there was a miller and his son who were taking their donkey to the market. As they were walking along, they passed a group of women sitting by a well. One of them laughed and said, "Look at those two. They have a donkey, yet they're both walking. How silly." The miller heard this and immediately put his son on the donkey. A little later, they passed a group of elderly men. One of them shook his head and said, "Young people today have absolutely no respect. Look at that boy riding while his poor father has to walk." So the miller told his son to get down, and he climbed onto the donkey instead. Before long, they met a group of women and children. When they saw the father riding and the son walking, they cried, "How selfish! Look at that poor boy struggling to keep up while his father rides." So the miller lifted his son up behind him. But as they approached the town, a passerby stopped and said, "That poor donkey! The two of you are far too heavy for it." Not wanting to offend anyone, the miller and his son got off the donkey. Then, trying to follow the man's advice, they tied the donkey's legs to a pole and carried it between them. And as they crossed the bridge into town, the sight was so absolutely ridiculous that people began laughing and shouting. And the donkey became frightened and started kicking. And the rope snapped. The donkey fell into the river below and was swept away. And so the miller and his son returned home with nothing. All because they had spent the entire journey trying to please everyone. And maybe there's a lesson in that for all of us. No matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. If you walk, you're wrong. If you ride, you're wrong. If you change course to please one person, another will tell you to do the opposite. The truth is, if you try to please everyone, you'll eventually lose yourself in the process. So know who you are. Know what you believe, and don't allow every passing opinion to determine your direction. Because in the end, the voice that matters most is not what everyone else says about you, but what God says about you.